All right, before we dive into this crazy story, do me a favor, subscribe and tell us where you're watching from. The storm had been building for hours. Rain struck the hospital windows in steady, relentless sheets, blurring the city lights into soft streaks of white and red. Thunder rolled in slow intervals, distant but heavy enough to vibrate through the glass. Inside, the fluorescent lights hummed without interruption, casting a pale, artificial calm over the night shift. It was the kind of night where everything felt slightly off. Not chaotic. Not yet. Just waiting. Elena moved quietly down the corridor, pushing a supply cart with one hand, the other steadying a stack of folded linens. Her steps were measured, almost silent against the polished floor. She wore standard scrubs, slightly oversized, sleeves rolled once at the wrists. Nothing about her stood out. That was the point. Room 312. She stopped without checking a list. Inside, an elderly patient shifted restlessly, oxygen tubing slightly twisted. Elena stepped in, adjusted the line, checked the monitor, no alarms yet, but trending upward. She didn't call anyone. Not yet. Instead, she reached for a fresh mask, replaced it with precise efficiency, and waited 3 seconds. The numbers stabilized. Only then did she move again. No one saw her enter. No one saw her leave. At the nurse's station, 2 interns argued quietly over a chart. A senior nurse typed without looking up. Phones rang intermittently, unanswered for just a second too long before someone picked them up. Elena passed behind them, placing fresh gloves in the dispenser before it ran empty. No one acknowledged it. They rarely did. "Where's the updated file on 417?" one of the interns asked, frustration creeping into his voice. "It should be there," the nurse replied, still typing. It wasn't. Elena reached the shelf, pulled the correct file from a misfiled stack, and set it down beside them without a word. The intern grabbed it mid-sentence, already talking again, never noticing the correction. Elena kept moving. Further down the hall, a patient call light blinked, soft, insistent. She changed direction before it rang a second time. Inside, a middle-aged woman struggled to sit upright, her breathing shallow. The patient started. Elena was already adjusting the bed angle. Water. Within reach before it was asked for. A blanket. Warmer than the one before. A quiet nod. No unnecessary words. The woman exhaled, tension easing without fully understanding why. Elena stepped back, scanning the room once, windows, corners, equipment placement, and then left. Behind her, the storm intensified. Thunder cracked closer now. At the far end of a corridor, Dr. Lang emerged from an exam room, removing his gloves with a sharp pull. He looked tired in the way only long shifts could produce, irritated, efficient, already moving to the next problem. "Elena," he said, not stopping. She paused. "Yes, doctor. Make sure the trauma bay is restocked. Last shift left it half empty." "It's already done." He glanced at her briefly, as if recalibrating, then dismissed it just as quickly. "Good. Keep it that way." He moved on. No acknowledgement. No surprise. Just expectation. Elena turned slightly, watching him go, and not the man, but the movement. The pattern. The direction of flow in the corridor. Who followed him? Who didn't? Then she continued. Supply room. She stepped inside, closing the door halfway, and not fully shut, never fully open. The shelves were lined, but not organized for speed. She adjusted 3 items without hesitation, trauma gauze closer to reach, saline bags shifted forward, a missing kit replaced from the lower shelf. Her hands moved with familiarity that went beyond routine. She paused. Listened. Footsteps outside. 2 sets. One heavier, one uneven. She didn't turn her head. Just waited. The footsteps passed. Only then did she straighten. Back in the corridor, The rhythm of the hospital continued, controlled but fragile. Conversations overlapped. Monitors beeped. A stretcher rolled by, wheels clicking softly with each rotation. Elena walked along the edge of it all. Not part of the center. Never the focus, but always present. Her gaze moved, not openly, not in a way that drew attention, but it registered everything. Exit signs. Door hinges. Which doors were propped open? Which ones weren't? Which staff moved with urgency and which moved with routine? Patterns. She tracked them without thinking. A nurse nearly collided with a cart near the corner. Elena shifted her own path half a step before it happened, avoiding contact entirely. No one noticed. At the security desk, a guard scrolled through his phone, the monitor wall glowing behind him. Elena glanced once, brief, controlled, counting feeds without appearing to look. 6 active. 1 flickering. She kept walking. The storm pressed harder against the building now. Rain louder. Wind sharper. Somewhere outside, something metal rattled against concrete. Inside, the illusion of control held. Barely. Elena reached the end of the corridor and stopped for the first time without a task in her hands. Just stillness. She stood there, listening not to any single sound, but to all of them at once. The layered noise. The subtle shifts. The spaces between activity. Something was coming. Not visible yet. But the pattern was changing. Behind her, the intercom crackled to life, sudden, sharp, cutting through the background noise like a blade. All available staff to emergency intake. Repeat, all available staff to emergency intake. A pause. Then, more urgent. Priority arrival. Military transport en route. The corridor shifted instantly. Conversation stopped. Movement accelerated. Chairs pushed back. Footsteps quickened. Dr. Lang reappeared, already moving faster, voice raised as he issued instructions. Trauma team, now. Clear Bay 1. Let's move. Staff who had ignored Elena seconds ago rushed past her without a glance. She didn't move immediately. Just listened. Military transport. Not scheduled. Not routine. Her eyes lifted slightly toward the far entrance, as if she could see through walls. Then she exhaled, slow, controlled, and stepped forward. Into motion. Just as the storm outside reached its peak, the sound reached them before the doors opened. Low. Heavy. Mechanical. Rotors. Not distant, close enough to vibrate through the structure of the building. The storm outside swallowed most of the city noise, but not this. This cut through everything. Inside the emergency intake, movement sharpened. Staff aligned without being told. Equipment was pulled into place. Monitors powered on. A stretcher locked into position under bright surgical light. Dr. Lang stood at the center, gloved, focused. Clear the corridor, he said. No delays. The doors at the far end burst open. Cold air rushed in with the rain. 2 soldiers entered first, full gear, controlled but urgent. Their eyes scanned the room in a single sweep, not missing anything. Behind them, the stretcher came fast. General Hale. He was larger than expected, even in stillness. His uniform had been cut open at the chest. Blood soaked through layered dressings, dark and spreading. Oxygen mask secured. Skin pale beneath the harsh light. The team moved him onto the hospital bed in one coordinated motion. Time of injury? Dr. Lang asked. 38 minutes, one of the soldiers replied. Mechanism. Explosion. Close range. Lang nodded once, already working. Vitals. Dropping. The monitor confirmed it. Irregular rhythm. Pressure unstable. The room tightened. More personnel entered, 2 additional soldiers, one carrying a sealed case, another speaking into a shoulder mic in low, controlled bursts. Their presence changed the atmosphere without raising their voices. Authority without announcement. Near the doorway, Sergeant Reyes stepped in. He didn't move further at first. Just stood there, assessing. His uniform was marked but intact. Rainwater traced down from his sleeves to the floor. His gaze fixed on the general, then shifted once across the room, mapping positions, exits, faces. It passed over Elena without pause. Then returned to the general. "Doctor," Reyes said. Dr. Lang didn't look up. "We're stabilizing. You have minutes." Lang's jaw tightened, but his hands remained steady. "We'll do our job." Reyes didn't respond. He stepped aside slightly, making space but not yielding control. His presence remained anchored, close enough to intervene, far enough not to obstruct. Elena stood near the back wall. Not in the circle. Not addressed. But watching. Her eyes moved across the general's body, not broadly, not dramatically, just small, precise shifts. Entry wounds. Burn pattern. Shrapnel distribution. Breathing rhythm under assisted oxygen. Something didn't align. She said nothing. Dr. Lang worked quickly, cutting away remaining fabric, exposing the chest fully. The primary wound sat just left of center. Jagged. Deep. But the bleeding pattern suggested more beneath. "Suction," he said. A nurse handed it to him instantly. Blood cleared. For a second, the wound revealed more structure. Lang leaned closer. "Elena," he said without looking. "For line." She was already moving. The kit was in her hand before the command finished. Needle placed. Line secured. No hesitation. No wasted motion. Lang continued. "Prepare for chest intervention." The words settled heavily in the room. Around them, the soldiers remained still, but not relaxed. Hands near gear. Eyes alert. One of them adjusted his stance subtly, shifting weight to his back foot. Reyes stepped closer now. "How bad?" he asked. Lang didn't answer immediately. He was listening to the monitor, to the breath sounds, to the subtle resistance under his hands. "Bad enough," he said finally. Not precise, but not reassuring. Elena's gaze shifted again. The monitor showed instability, but not consistent with the visible trauma alone. The rhythm dipped, recovered, dipped again. Not random. Patterned. She stepped half a pace closer, not enough to interrupt, just enough to see more clearly. There. A delay between inhalation and chest expansion. Not mechanical failure. Something else. Her eyes moved to the secondary wound near the lower rib. Small. Almost overlooked. She registered it, then looked away before anyone noticed the focus. Reyes' voice cut through the room again. "We don't have time for uncertainty." Lang exhaled slowly. "Then don't give me uncertainty," he replied. Their eyes met for a fraction of a second. Measured. Tense. Then Lang turned back to the general. "Pressure's dropping," a nurse said. The monitor confirmed it, numbers sliding lower now, more rapidly. "Increase fluids," Lang ordered. "Already maxed." "Then adjust." Elena's hand moved to the line, making a small correction, angle, flow, resistance. The drip stabilized slightly. No one commented. The general's body reacted, barely, but enough. Lang noticed. He didn't look at her, but he noticed. "Good," he said, already moving to the next step. Reyes watched the exchange. Not the words. The actions. His gaze shifted to Elena again, this time longer. Not recognition. Assessment. Then back to the general. "Talk to me," he said, lower now. Lang's hands pressed against the wound, controlling the bleed as best as possible. "There's internal damage we can't see yet," he said. "We stabilize here, or we lose him in transit. Then stabilize him." The storm outside surged again, thunder cracking closer, louder. Inside, the room narrowed to a single point. The general's breathing faltered. A pause too long. The monitor stuttered, then dropped. "Pressure's crashing," the nurse said. Lang's voice sharpened. "Stay with me." But the body on the table didn't respond. Elena's eyes fixed on the chest. Not the main wound. The smaller one. The one no one had addressed. Her mind moved ahead of the moment, mapping outcomes, timing, risk. If it wasn't corrected now, the monitor gave a flat, warning tone before catching again, erratic. Reyes stepped forward. "How much time?" Lang didn't answer. Because he didn't have one. The room held its breath. And the general began to slip. The room did not slow down. It narrowed. Every movement became sharper. Every sound carried weight. Elena stood at the edge of the bed, hand steady, adjusting the flow of fluids with small, controlled movements. She did not step into the center. She did not speak unless required. But she remained close enough to act without delay. The general's chest rose unevenly beneath the oxygen mask. Not stable. Not gone. Suspended somewhere in between. Dr. Lang worked with quiet urgency, applying pressure, issuing short commands. The team responded in fragments, efficient, trained, but stretched thin under the pressure building in the room. Elena's focus stayed on the details others passed over. Skin tone. Slight shift in breathing rhythm. The delay between stimulus and response. She adjusted the monitor lead by a fraction. The signal steadied just enough to read clearly. No one acknowledged it. She did not expect them to. But General's fingers moved. Small at first. Almost reflex. Then again. More deliberate. Lang noticed the change in the monitor before he saw the movement. "Stay with us," he said, voice controlled. The General's eyelids flickered. The room leaned toward him without physically moving. A breath. Shallow. Uneven. Then his eyes opened. Not fully. Just enough. The light hit them harshly, forcing a slow adjustment. His gaze did not settle immediately. It moved, unfocused at first, tracking shapes, motion, voices. Then it stopped. On her. Elena did not react. Her posture remained unchanged. Shoulders relaxed. Hand steady. Head slightly lowered as she checked the 4-line again, though it no longer required adjustment. But she felt it. The attention. Not curiosity. Recognition. The General's breathing shifted, not stronger, but more controlled, as if something in his mind had anchored. His eyes narrowed slightly. Not in confusion. In assessment. "Elena," Lang said sharply. Suction. She moved instantly. The tool was already within reach. She cleared the airway with precise timing, avoiding interruption to the shallow breathing pattern that had just stabilized. The General's gaze never left her. Even as his body struggled. Even as the room continued around him. "Sir, stay with me," Lang said, louder now. The General did not respond to the command. His focus remained fixed. On the one person not trying to lead. Not trying to control. Just acting. He watched the way she moved. The absence of hesitation. The economy of motion. The silence. His hand shifted again, this time reaching, but not fully lifting. Elena saw it in her peripheral vision. She did not meet his eyes. "Not yet." "Pressure holding," a nurse said. "For now," Lang replied. The General's lips moved beneath the mask. No sound came out. Reyes stepped closer, leaning slightly toward him. "Sir," he said. No response. Just that same steady, narrowed gaze. Reyes followed it. To Elena. His expression didn't change, but something in his posture did. A subtle tightening. A recalibration. "What?" one of the nurses said quietly, noticing the shift but not understanding it. "Nothing," Reyes replied. But he didn't look away. Elena adjusted the edge of the dressing at the general's side, small correction, preventing further seepage. Her fingers moved with practiced control, avoiding pressure on the unstable area. The general's breathing hitched once, then settled again. His eyes tracked the movement. Not the wound. Her hands. Then her wrists. The fabric of her sleeves had shifted slightly during the work. Just enough. Faint lines beneath the skin. Old. Not recent. Not accidental. His gaze held there for a moment longer, then lifted back to her face. "El," he tried. The sound barely formed. Lang glanced up, irritated. "Don't speak," he said. "You need to conserve." The general ignored him. His focus remained. Elena lowered her gaze further, as if avoiding distraction. She reached for a fresh gauze pad, replaced the one already in place with a cleaner, tighter seal. Her movements did not change. But something inside them did. A slight delay. A measured restraint. As if choosing what not to show. "What is it?" Lang asked, more to the room than to the patient. No one answered. Because no one understood the question. The general tried again, voice strained. "Where?" The word broke before it finished. Reyes leaned closer. "Sir, we'll handle everything. Just stay with us." But the general's eyes shifted back to Elena. Not asking for reassurance. Asking something else. Something specific. Elena felt it. The shape of the question. She did not respond. Instead, she adjusted the angle of before line again, unnecessary this time, but it gave her a reason to move without engaging. Her voice, when it came, was low. Neutral. He needs to stay still. Not directed at him. Directed at the room. Lang nodded, accepting the instruction without questioning its source. "Hold him steady," he said. Two nurses adjusted their positions. The general's gaze flickered once, briefly, to Lang. Then back. Still watching. Still measuring. Reyes straightened slightly, his attention now split. Between the general's condition and the person he refused to stop looking at. "Do you know her?" Reyes asked quietly, not expecting an answer. The general's breathing deepened for a single cycle, then faltered again. His eyelids lowered slightly, but did not close. Elena stepped back half a pace, creating distance, reducing presence, but not leaving, never leaving. The general's eyes followed the movement, even as the strength to hold them open began to fade. The room continued around them, commands, adjustments, pressure mounting again as the instability returned. But something had shifted. Not in the monitors. Not in the procedure. In the space between two people who had not spoken, but had recognized something neither of them named. Reyes saw it. He didn't understand it, but he saw enough to remember. The general's eyes finally closed, not fully unconscious, but retreating again, still holding that last image. Elena turned slightly, her face returning to neutral, her hands already moving to the next task. As if nothing had happened, but the room felt different now, quieter, tighter, watching her, without knowing why. The room closed in around the obvious: blood loss, trauma, pressure collapse. Dr. Lang focused where anyone would, on the primary wound, the one that demanded attention. His hands worked with speed and precision, controlling what could be seen, what could be measured, what could be managed. "Keep suction steady," he said. A nurse adjusted instantly. "Pressure? Still dropping. Maintain compression. Everything centered on the visible damage. It made sense. It was also incomplete. Elena stood just outside the main arc of movement, her position unchanged, close enough to act, far enough not to interrupt. Her hands moved only when needed, adjusting lines, stabilizing equipment, maintaining flow, but her attention had shifted, not to the main wound, to the one beneath it, smaller, lower, almost dismissed in the urgency. Her eyes tracked the general's chest again, this time not just the rise and fall, but the delay between effort and expansion, the imbalance between left and right, subtle but increasing. She stepped half a pace closer. No one stopped her. No one noticed. The monitor flickered, irregular, but not yet critical enough to change the current plan. That was the problem. It would be. Soon. "Elena," Lang said, still focused on the primary wound. "More gauze." She handed it to him before the request finished. Her timing remained exact, but her attention did not return to the task he was focused on. It stayed below, the smaller wound, the one not being addressed. Her gaze moved once, quick, controlled, to the tray, then back. She calculated distance, time, access. If she moved now, no, not yet. The team still believed they had control. She watched the general's breathing again, the slight pull, the resistance, air not moving where it should. Her fingers tightened briefly at her side, then relaxed. "Doctor," she said quietly. Lang did not look up. "Not now." She paused, measured, then tried again. Same tone, no urgency in the voice. "There may be—" "I said not now," Lang cut in, sharper this time. No anger, just focus. He was not ignoring her. He was prioritizing what he could see. Elena stepped back, not retreating, repositioning. Her silence returned, but her hands did not stop working. She moved to the supply cart, slow, controlled, no sudden motion. Her fingers selected 2 items without hesitation, a needle, a tube, not part of the current procedure, not requested. She placed them closer to the edge of the sterile field, within reach, not in the way. No one commented. They assumed preparation. They assumed compliance. She said nothing. Reyes watched from the side. His eyes moved between Lang's hands and Elena's. He noticed the placement, the difference. He did not interrupt, not yet. "Pressure's dropping faster," a nurse said. Lang adjusted his stance. "Increase, we're at maximum." "Then hold it." The monitor tone shifted. Slightly faster, slightly more unstable. Still not enough to force a change, but close. Elena's gaze returned to the general's chest. The delay was worse now. Breath coming in, but not distributing. The left side lagged, air trapped, building. She could see it in the tension beneath the skin. Not obvious, not to someone focused on the surface, but it was there, expanding. She moved again, one step, closer to the lower wound. Her voice, when it came, was still controlled. "Doctor." Lang did not look up. "Continue assisting. There's a secondary—" "I am aware of all visible injuries," Lang said, cutting her off without raising his voice. A statement, final. He believed it, because he had seen them. Elena stopped speaking, not because she agreed, because the window to argue was gone. Her attention shifted fully now, from observation to timing. The general's breathing hitched again, longer this time. A pause that stretched, then a shallow recovery. The monitor responded, numbers dipping, struggling to stabilize. Reyes stepped forward half a pace. "What's happening?" Lang didn't answer immediately. He was already compensating, adjusting pressure, trying to correct what he believed was causing the decline. "Stay back," he said. But his tone had changed, less certain. Elena's hand moved to the tray, not to take, to confirm. The item she had placed was still there, unmoved, ready. She looked at the general again. The tension beneath the skin had increased, the chest expansion now visibly uneven, no longer subtle, but still not obvious to those focused elsewhere. Her mind moved ahead. If it continued, the pressure would build, compress, shut down function. They would lose him, not slowly, quickly. And by the time it was clear, it would be too late. "Doctor," she said one last time, not louder but different. Lang glanced up briefly, just enough to acknowledge the interruption. "What?" She stopped, not because she didn't know, because she understood the room, the authority, the cost of being wrong. She shifted her words. "Watch his left side." Lang's eyes followed the instruction for a fraction of a second, then returned to the main wound. "I am." He wasn't. Not in the way she meant. The general's breathing faltered again. Longer pause, no immediate recovery. The monitor dropped, sharper this time. "Pressure's crashing," the nurse said. Lang's focus snapped tighter. "Hold compression." But the cause wasn't where he was looking. Elena saw it clearly now. The rise that shouldn't be there, the resistance that shouldn't exist, the delay that had become failure. Her hand hovered near the tray, not moving yet, waiting, calculating the exact moment, too early, and she would be stopped, too late, and it would not matter. The general's chest failed to rise, the monitor tone flattened, then struggled back, unstable, fragile. Reyes' voice cut in, sharper now. "Doctor." Lang didn't answer, because he didn't have control anymore. Elena exhaled once, slow, measured. The window had closed, and the next one would be the last. The shift came without warning. One moment, the general's condition held at the edge, unstable, but contained. The next, it broke. The monitor dropped in a sharp, uneven line. The tone changed, no longer a warning, but a collapse trying to happen in real time. "Pressure's gone," the nurse said, not falling. "Gone." Dr. Lang reacted instantly. "Prep for emergency thoracic access," he said. "We're losing him." The team moved. Instruments shifted, hands repositioned. Focus narrowed even further to the primary wound, the one they had been fighting since the beginning. It was the logical move. It was also the wrong one. Elena saw it as it happened, not the action, the direction. Lang was committing deeper into the visible damage, increasing pressure, preparing to open further. But the general's chest wasn't expanding at all now. Not delayed. Stopped. Air had nowhere to go. The left side had become rigid. The space inside was collapsing under pressure. Every second they continued in the wrong place made the right intervention harder. "Clamp," Lang said. A nurse placed the tool in his hand. Reyes stepped closer again. "What's happening?" he demanded. "Internal failure," Lang replied. "We need to open." He leaned in. Elena didn't move. Not yet. Her eyes stayed on the general's chest, watching the absence of motion, the tension beneath the surface, the signal the monitor couldn't fully explain. Her mind ran ahead. If Lang proceeded, he would commit time they didn't have. The pressure inside would continue to build, and by the time it was corrected, there would be nothing left to save. Her fingers flexed once, then stilled. The room moved around her, fast, urgent, committed to a path already chosen. No one looked at her, no one asked. This was not her decision to make, except it was, because she was the only one who had seen it. "Doctor, we're losing him," the nurse said. "I know," Lang replied, sharper now. "Stay with me." He adjusted his position, preparing to go deeper. Elena stepped forward, just one pace, not enough to disrupt, enough to act. Her hand moved to the tray, the needle, the tube, already in place, prepared before anyone knew they would be needed. Reyes saw the movement. His eyes narrowed slightly, but he did not speak. Elena's voice came, quiet, controlled. "Doctor." Lang didn't respond. Not now. There was no space left for interruption. The general's body remained still. No chest rise, no correction. The monitor dipped again, lower. Elena made the decision, not sudden, not emotional, calculated. She moved to the side of the bed, lower, near the secondary wound, out of Lang's direct line. Her hands were steady, no hesitation. She located the point by touch, counting ribs without looking, feeling the spacing beneath the skin, confirming the exact position. There, the pressure point, the trap. She did not ask permission. She acted. The needle went in, clean, precise, controlled, a single motion, no wasted movement. For half a second, nothing changed. Then, a sharp release. Air escaped with a controlled hiss, pressure breaking from inside the chest. The general's body reacted immediately, a shallow intake, then another, not strong, but real. The monitor responded, numbers rising, slowly, unevenly, but no longer collapsing. The room froze, not completely, but enough. Lang stopped mid-motion. His eyes shifted, first to the monitor, then to the source of the change. Elena, still positioned at the side, still holding the line steady, not looking at him, just watching the patient. "What did you—" Lang started. He didn't finish, because the result was in front of him. The pressure stabilized, barely, but enough to hold. "Maintain that," he said instead, adjusting instantly. No acknowledgement, no apology, just adaptation. The team followed. Fluid flow adjusted, monitoring recalibrated, hands moved to support the new state rather than fight the old one. Reyes stepped closer, his attention locked fully now, not on Lang, on Elena. He watched the placement of her hands, the angle, the precision. "You knew," he said quietly. Not a question. Elena didn't respond. Her focus remained on the general. The breathing pattern was still fragile, but it had returned. Air moving where it hadn't before. Time regained. For now. The general's eyelids flickered again, not fully conscious, but aware enough. His gaze shifted, slower this time, weaker but deliberate. It found her again. Elena didn't move, didn't acknowledge, but she felt it. The difference. Not just attention now, recognition reinforced, trust forming without words. Reyes saw it. This time he didn't look away. "What is her role here?" he asked, still watching. Lang didn't answer immediately, because he didn't know, not fully. "She assists," he said finally. It sounded insufficient, because it was. The general's breathing steadied, slightly deeper now, not safe, but no longer failing. Eleanor adjusted the tube, minor correction, ensuring the release remained controlled. Her movements stayed precise, contained, as if this was expected, as if this was routine. Around her, the room recalibrated, confusion beneath control, questions unasked, eyes lingering longer than before. But no one stopped her. No one could, because the patient was still alive, and they all knew why. The general's gaze held on her for one more moment. Then his eyes closed again, not slipping, resting. For the first time since arrival, not falling apart, holding, because she had seen what no one else did, and acted before it was too late. The storm outside did not ease. If anything, it pressed harder, wind driving rain against the structure, dull impacts echoing through the outer walls. Inside, the emergency unit had settled into a fragile rhythm again, controlled, focused, temporary. General Hale remained on the table, stabilized but not secure. The pressure had been relieved, but the damage beneath still held risk. Dr. Lang continued working, now more measured, adjusting his approach to the new variables. No one mentioned what had changed, but everyone had seen it. Elena stood where she had been since the intervention, slightly to the side, maintaining the line, monitoring the balance she had created. Her movements were minimal, her presence still quiet, ill. But her attention had shifted, not to the patient, to the edges. A sound, faint, out of place, not medical equipment, not staff movement, footsteps, heavy, not running, not hurried, deliberate. She didn't turn her head, just listened. The pattern repeated, 2 sets, then a pause, then one more, not matching the flow of hospital staff. Her eyes moved, briefly, to the reflection in a metal cabinet across the room. The corridor behind them was partially visible. Figures passed, not in scrubs, not in uniform, civilian clothing but wrong. Posture too rigid, movement too controlled, not patients, not visitors. Elena returned her gaze to the general, but the information stayed. Logged. Sergeant Reyes felt it seconds later, not the sight, the shift. He stepped toward the doorway, eyes narrowing slightly as he looked into the corridor. One of the soldiers near him adjusted his stance, hand moving closer to his side. "Hold position," Reyes said quietly. "No alarm, just readiness." A nurse looked up, confused by the change in tone. "What is it?" she asked. "Nothing yet," Reyes replied. But he didn't relax. The corridor beyond the room carried a different rhythm now, movement without urgency, presence without purpose. Elena tracked it. 3 individuals, spacing inconsistent, no visible interaction with staff, no hesitation at restricted doors. They were mapping, not lost, not uncertain, intentional. She shifted her weight slightly, angling her position so she could see more of the reflection without turning. The first figure stopped briefly at the far end, looked toward the emergency intake, then moved again. Elena's hand tightened around the line she was holding, then released. "Sergeant," she said quietly. Reyes turned his head just enough to hear. "There are people moving through the corridor who don't belong to the staff." Her tone remained neutral. No urgency, just information. Reyes didn't dismiss it. "What do you see?" he asked. 3, civilian clothing, moving without direction." Reyes stepped fully to the doorway now, eyes scanning. The corridor appeared normal, at first glance, but he saw it. A figure turning a corner too smoothly. Another pausing just long enough to observe before continuing. His posture changed, subtle but decisive. "Lock this floor down," he said to one of the soldiers. The soldier moved instantly, speaking into his mic. "Security," Reyes added. A guard appeared at the far end within seconds, slightly out of breath, reacting to the call rather than anticipating it. "What's going on?" the guard asked. Reyes didn't answer directly. "Who cleared civilians onto this floor?" "No one," the guard replied. "Access is restricted." Reyes looked at him for a moment, then back down the corridor. "That's a problem." Inside the room, Dr. Lang continued working, only partially aware of the shift behind him. "Keep the environment controlled," he said without turning. "We can't afford distractions." Reyes stepped back inside. "There may be unauthorized personnel in the building," he said. Lang didn't look up. "Then security can handle it." "They already failed to prevent it." Lang's hands didn't stop. "My patient is the priority." "And if those individuals are here for him?" Reyes asked. That paused Lang for a fraction of a second, not enough to change his focus. "Then keep them away," he said. Elena's eyes moved again to the reflection. The figures had changed position. Closer now, one of them stopped near the corner leading directly to the ICU corridor. No hesitation, no confusion. They knew where they were going. She spoke again, same tone. "They're moving toward this level." Lang exhaled, controlled but irritated. "This is not your concern," he said. "Stay focused on your task." She didn't respond, because she was, just not only on the patient. Reyes watched her for a moment, then nodded once to his team. "Positions," he said quietly. The soldiers shifted, subtle changes, placing themselves between the doorway and the interior of the room, not blocking movement, just preparing for it. The guard remained near the corridor, uncertain, trying to assert control he didn't fully have. "Elena," Lang said, sharper now, "maintain the line." "I am," she replied. Her voice didn't change, but her eyes did. Still on the reflection, the first figure reached the turn, paused, then stepped into the ICU corridor. Direct line, no attempt to blend, no attempt to hide. He second followed. Then the third. Elena's breathing remained steady. Her mind moved ahead. Distance to door. Number of personnel in room. Available cover. Medical equipment that could be used or would become obstacles. She adjusted her stance slightly. Not enough to draw attention. Enough to move. "Sergeant," she said again. This time, there was a fraction more weight behind the words. "They're here." Reyes didn't ask how she knew. He already saw it. 3 figures approaching. No hesitation. No deviation. The guard stepped forward, raising a hand. "Hey, this area is restricted." The first figure didn't slow. Didn't respond. Just kept walking. The distance closed. Inside the room, the tension shifted again. Not medical. Something else. Something entering. Lang finally looked up, just as the footsteps reached the doorway, and stopped. For half a second, before crossing the threshold. The first man stepped into the room without asking. No hesitation. No introduction. Just presence. Behind him, the other 2 followed, spacing deliberate, eyes scanning once, quickly, taking in positions, exits, personnel. They were not here by mistake. They were here for something. Or someone. Sergeant Reyes shifted immediately, placing himself between them and the bed. "This area is restricted," he said. The man in front stopped. Looked at him. Not aggressive. Not compliant. Just measuring. Then his gaze moved, past Reyes, past Lang, to the general. Confirmation. Elena saw it. Not the look. The sequence. Entry. Scan. Target. No confusion. No delay. This was planned. Behind her, the monitor gave a small, uneven dip. The general's condition was holding, but only just. 2 problems. Same time. Same space. She didn't move toward either. Not yet. Her eyes shifted to the room. Not the people. The layout. Distance between beds. Position of carts. Lines of movement. Obstructions. There were 3 additional patients in adjacent bays, separated only by partial curtains. Exposed. Unaware. In the wrong place. Elena stepped away from the general. Quietly. No one stopped her. No one questioned it. Their attention was on the men at the door. She moved to the nearest bed. An elderly patient, half-conscious, oxygen line steady. "Elena," Lang said without looking. "Stay, I'll be back," she said. Not asking. Not explaining. Just stating. He didn't respond, because his attention was elsewhere. She adjusted the bed, lowered it slightly, locked the wheels, checked the line. Then she moved the curtain just enough to obscure, not enough to draw attention. The patient didn't react. Good. Less movement. Less noise. She moved to the second bed. A younger man, post-operative, still under sedation. She checked the monitor, stable. Then unplugged the external display, letting the portable unit take over. Less light. Less visibility. Her hands moved with quiet efficiency. No wasted motion. Across the room, Reyes and the lead intruder remained in place, neither escalating, neither backing down. "You're not authorized to be here," Reyes said. The man tilted his head slightly. "We don't need authorization." His voice was calm. Controlled. Not loud. That made it worse. Elena didn't look at them. She didn't need to. She already understood. The third patient, closest to the far wall, was awake. Watching. Confused. "Elena," he said weakly. She reached him before he could speak again. "Stay quiet," she said. not harsh, but firm enough. She adjusted his fore, then placed a hand briefly on the side rail, steadying, grounding. Then she shifted the bed just a few inches. Enough to change the angle. Enough to reduce the line of sight from the doorway. Small changes. Compounding. She stepped back. 3 patients now partially concealed. Not safe, but less exposed. Reyes noticed. Not the movement. The result. His eyes flicked once toward the altered layout, then back to the intruders. He said nothing, but he adjusted his position slightly, aligning with the new line she had created. The soldiers followed without being told. Subtle, but coordinated. Dr. Lang remained at the general's side, tension rising as the situation stretched. "We are in the middle of a critical procedure," he said. "If you have business here, state it or leave." The lead man smiled faintly. "Not friendly. We are here for him." No ambiguity. Lang's expression hardened. "That's not going to happen." The second intruder shifted his weight. A step forward. Testing distance. Reyes moved instantly, blocking the line. The space tightened. Elena's attention returned to the general. The monitor dipped again. Not from the external threat. From within. The breathing pattern had changed. Shallower. Faster. The earlier stability was slipping. She moved back to the bedside. Her hand went to the line, checking flow, pressure, resistance. All correct. But the body was failing to hold. The strain was catching up. She adjusted the tube again, minor correction. The general's chest rose slightly, then stalled. Not enough. Time was narrowing. Behind her, the tension escalated. "You don't want to do this here," Reyes said. "We already are," the man replied. No raised voices. No sudden movement. Just inevitability. Elena's mind split. 2 tracks. External threat, 3 individuals, controlled, likely armed. Internal collapse, patient unstable, window closing. She calculated both. Distances. Timing. If conflict started, the patients would be exposed again. The general would be lost. Unless she acted before either side committed. Her hand hovered near the equipment. Not selecting yet. Waiting. Choosing the moment. Reyes' voice dropped lower. Final warning. Last chance. The man didn't respond. He took one more step. Closer. Enough. The soldiers shifted, ready. The room balanced on a single point. Elena made her decision. Not about them. About the patient. The general's breathing failed again. Long pause, no recovery. The monitor dipped harder this time. No time left. She stepped forward into the center now. No longer at the edge. No longer unnoticed. Her hands moved, fast, precise, controlled. "Hold him," she said. The command cut through the room. Not loud, but clear. Everyone heard it. Lang looked up, surprised. Reyes turned, instinctively responding. Even the intruders paused, just for a fraction. The shift was immediate. Elena didn't wait. Didn't explain. She reached for the next intervention, already calculating the sequence, already ahead of the moment. Her posture had changed. Not bigger. Not louder. Just certain. No longer hidden. Because she couldn't be. Not anymore. The room held its breath. Elena stood at the center now, not by position, but by necessity. Her hands moved with controlled speed, continuing the intervention she had already begun. No hesitation. No wasted motion. "Stabilize the airway," she said. The words were calm. Measured. but no longer background. Dr. Lang paused for a fraction of a second, not resisting, recalibrating. Then he moved, following the instruction without questioning it. A nurse adjusted position. Another secured the line. The team shifted, not in confusion, but in response. Because the patient was responding. The general's chest rose, uneven, but stronger than before. Air moving. Pressure holding. For now. The monitor climbed, slowly, but with direction. Not collapsing. Recovering. Elena adjusted the angle of the tube again, her eyes fixed on the pattern of breathing, not the numbers. The numbers followed. Behind her, the intruders had not moved further. Not yet. They watched. The moment had changed. Not because of them. Because of her. Sergeant Reyes noticed it first. Not the procedure. The control. He stepped slightly to the side, not retreating, but allowing space. His attention remained split, but his posture had shifted. He was no longer leading the room. He was observing it. The general's eyes opened. Slowly. More than before. Clarity returning in fragments. His gaze moved, briefly across the lights, the ceiling, the blurred shapes around him. Then it found her. Again. This time, it held. Stronger. Aware. Elena did not look up immediately. She finished the adjustment first, ensuring stability, confirming the rhythm, locking the position. Only then did her gaze lift. Not fully. Just enough. The general studied her. Not as a patient. As someone recognizing a pattern. His breathing steadied slightly deeper now. Enough to speak. Where he started. The word came out rough. Lang leaned in. "Don't speak," he said. "You're still unstable." The general ignored him. His eyes remained fixed on Elena. "Unit," he said, the word fractured but deliberate. No one else understood. Reyes did. His expression changed. Subtle, but immediate. The general's hand moved, barely lifting from the bed. Not reaching. Indicating. Toward her. The room followed the gesture. Attention shifted. Not gradually. All at once. To the one person who had not asked for it. Elena didn't react. Her posture remained unchanged. Her hands returned to the line, making a minor correction that did not need to be made. Avoiding the moment. Deflecting it. "Sir," Reyes said, stepping closer. "Focus on breathing." The general's eyes did not leave her. "Not staff," he said. The words were quiet, but clear enough. Lang looked up. For the first time, truly looking at her. Not as support. Not as background. As something else. "What is he saying?" one of the nurses asked. No one answered immediately, because the answer was forming in real time. Reyes stepped closer to Elena now. Not confrontational. Measured. "Where were you stationed?" he asked. Direct. No preamble. Elena didn't respond. Her attention remained on the patient. "Pressure stabilizing," she said instead. Fact. Not deflection. But not an answer. Reyes held her there for a moment longer. Then his gaze shifted to her hands. To the precision. To the control. To the absence of hesitation. He had seen it before. Not here. Somewhere else. "Confirm," he said quietly into his MIC. A pause. Then a response, low, filtered, barely audible to anyone else. "Stand by." Reyes' eyes returned to Elena. Different now. Less questioning. More certain. The general's breathing deepened again. His voice came back, stronger than before. "Ghost," he said. The word settled into the room. No one moved. No one spoke. But the weight of it changed everything. Elena's hand paused just for a fraction, then continued, as if the word had not been spoken, as if it did not belong to her. Lang straightened slightly. "Explain," he said. Not to her. To Reyes. But his eye stayed on Elena. Reyes didn't answer immediately, because the confirmation came through his earpiece at that exact moment. Match confirmed and prior classification restricted. He closed his eyes briefly, then opened them. Decision made. He stepped back. Not away. Down. Creating space. His voice, when it came, was clear. "She's not support staff," he said. Silence. "Then she's the reason he's still alive." No exaggeration. No tone. Just fact. The room absorbed it. Slowly. Then all at once. Attention locked. Every eye on her. Elena didn't acknowledge it. Didn't look up. Didn't change. She adjusted the line again, final correction, ensuring stability. The general's breathing held. Stronger now. Sustained. Reyes turned slightly to his team. "Follow her lead," he said. Not loud, but final. Authority shifted. Not declared. Transferred. Without resistance. Lang hesitated. Only for a moment. Then he nodded once. Acceptance. Not of her title. Of her result. "Elena," he said. Her name sounded different now. Not casual. Not dismissive. A question. A request. She didn't respond to it. Instead, she stepped slightly to the side, repositioning herself for the next phase. Her voice came, calm as before. "We don't have stability yet," she said. "We're holding." No explanation. No acknowledgement of what had just happened. Just the next step. Responsibility accepted. Without claiming it. Without needing to. Because the room had already decided. The shift in the room did not go unnoticed. The men at the doorway had been watching. Not just the general. Not just the soldiers. Her. The moment authority moved, quietly, without announcement, they adjusted. The lead man took one step forward. No hesitation now. Decision made. Reyes moved instantly to intercept, but the distance had already closed. Too close for warning. Too close for negotiation. The second man reached inside his jacket. Not fast. Deliberate. Controlled. Weapon. Elena saw it before it cleared the fabric. Her mind moved ahead. Distance, 5 steps. Line of fire, direct to the bed. Civilians, 3, partially shielded but exposed if the angle changed. General, immobile. No time to reposition everything. Only to redirect. "Down," she said. Not loud, but precise. The closest nurse dropped immediately, instinct, not thought. Reyes shifted, drawing his weapon, but his line was blocked by the angle of the second intruder. Too many bodies. Too tight. Elena moved. Not toward the threat. Toward the patient. Her hand locked the side rail, pulling the bed half an inch, just enough to shift the angle of exposure. Minimal, but critical. The first shot didn't come, because the man hesitated. Not from fear. From recalculation. The movement had changed his line. Not enough to miss, enough to delay. That delay mattered. Reyes closed the gap, forcing the first man back a step, disrupting the formation. The second man raised his weapon fully now. Elena didn't look at him. He didn't need to. Her focus stayed on the space between them. The path. If he fired now, 2 civilians would be exposed. She moved again. 1 step to the side. Her body intersecting the line of fire, not fully blocking, but altering the angle. Risk accepted. Calculated. Move them, she said. Reyes understood immediately. Clear the beds, he ordered. 2 soldiers broke off, pulling the nearest patient away from the open line, wheels unlocking, movement controlled but fast. The 3rd intruder advanced. Not aiming. Closing distance. Elena saw his trajectory. Not toward the general. Toward her. Recognition. Too late to hide now. Her hand moved to the tray, not for a weapon. For what was there? Metal. Weight. Balance. She stepped forward, meeting the movement before it reached full speed. The man's hand came up, grabbing, controlling, trying to push her aside. She didn't resist directly. She shifted, letting the force pass, redirecting it. Her shoulder turned, her stance lowering just enough to break his center. Not a strike. A correction. His balance failed. Half a step. Enough. Reyes took him from there, forcing him down, control regained in 1 clean motion. The 2nd man fired. A single shot. Wide. Because the line had changed. Because the target had moved. Because nothing was where it had been. The sound echoed sharp against the walls. One of the overhead lights shattered, glass falling in a brief, controlled rain. No one screamed. There was no time. Elena was already back at the bed. The general's breathing had destabilized again. Shock, noise, movement pushing the fragile balance. She adjusted the line, quick correction, maintaining the release point. Hold pressure, she said. Lang was already there. Now fully aligned. No hesitation. No resistance. The 3rd intruder lunged again, this time not at her, but past her, toward the general. Last attempt. Direct. Reyes couldn't reach in time. Distance too great. Elena stepped into the path. Not blocking. Intercepting. Her hand caught his wrist, not stopping the motion, but slowing it just enough to change direction. Her other hand moved, precise, controlled, using the metal tool from the tray. Not a strike. A disruption. The man's grip failed. The weapon slipped. Reyes closed the distance, finishing the movement, taking the man down hard, controlled, ending the threat in seconds. Silence followed. Not complete, but heavy. The soldiers secured the room, quick checks, confirming no further movement, no additional threats. Clear, one of them said. Reyes stood, breathing controlled, eyes scanning once more. Then settling. On her. Elena had already turned back. The general. His condition had dropped again, briefly but dangerously. The intervention line held, but the stress had pushed him to the edge again. She adjusted the angle, slightly deeper this time, compensating for the shift. Her hands remained steady. No tremor. No delay. Stay with me, Lang said, but now his tone matched hers. Not leading. Supporting. The monitor climbed again. Slow. Fragile. But moving in the right direction. The general's chest rose. Then again. Stronger. Sustained. The room exhaled, quietly, collectively. Not relief. Not yet. But survival. Reyes stepped closer to the bed. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. The threat was gone. Because she had controlled it. Without rank. Without command. Just action. Elena finished the adjustment, then stepped back half a pace. Not claiming the center again. Returning to the edge. Where she had started. As if nothing had changed. Except everything had. The general's breathing stabilized, holding now without collapse. The monitor steadied. For the first time since arrival, not fighting. Recovering. Elena watched for one more second. Confirming. Then lowered her hands. The room remained quiet. Waiting. But the crisis had passed. Because she had seen it. Moved first. And held the line. Until it was enough. Morning arrived without announcement. The storm had passed sometime before dawn. No one noticed when. The rain had stopped, the wind had faded, and in its place came a pale, quiet light filtering through the hospital windows. The building looked the same. But it wasn't. The emergency floor had settled into a controlled stillness. Equipment remained in place. Surfaces had been cleaned. Broken glass cleared. The marks of the night reduced to small details, barely visible unless someone knew where to look. General Hale lay in a secured ICU room now. Stable. Not recovered, but no longer slipping. His breathing was steady under controlled support. Monitors displayed consistent rhythms, no longer collapsing, no longer fighting to hold. At the doorway, 2 military personnel stood in silence. Not guarding. Observing. Inside, the room remained quiet. No urgency. No raised voices. Just presence. Elena stood at the far side, checking a line that did not need adjustment. Her movements were routine again, small, precise, unnoticed. As if the night had not happened. The door opened. Sergeant Reyes entered first. Behind him, another figure, older, composed, uniform pressed despite the hours that had passed. Authority without display. Reyes stepped aside slightly. "Sir," he said quietly. The man nodded once and moved inside. His gaze went directly to the general. Then shifted. To Elena. He did not speak immediately. He observed. The posture. The restraint. The absence of any attempt to be seen. He had read the reports. They had been incomplete. Now he understood why. "You held the line," he said finally. His voice was low. Not formal. Not public. Elena did not turn. "I assisted," she replied. The words were simple. Accurate. And incomplete. The man watched her for a moment longer. Then nodded once. Not in agreement. In acknowledgement. Reyes remained near the door, his attention moving between them, saying nothing. There was no need for more. No ceremony. No recognition beyond what had already been understood. The man turned back to the general. "He'll recover," he said. Not a question. A conclusion. Elena checked the monitor again. "Condition is stable," she said. No promise beyond that. He accepted it. Because it was enough. They left as quietly as they had entered. No announcement. No disruption. The door closed. The room returned to silence. Outside, the hospital had resumed its normal rhythm. Day shift had taken over. New staff moved through the corridors, unaware of what had happened hours earlier. Conversations were lighter. Steps less urgent. The storm was already becoming something that had passed. At the nurses' station, Dr. Lang stood reviewing a chart. Alone. His posture had changed. Not visibly, but in the details. He moved slower. Spoke less. When a nurse asked a question, he answered without impatience. Without dismissal. He glanced once down the corridor. Toward the ICU. Then back to his work. No one mentioned the night. No one needed to. The shift had already taken place. Quiet. Permanent. Inside the ICU, Elena finished checking the final line. Everything held. No instability. No immediate risk. She stepped back. No one stopped her. No one called her name. She moved into the corridor, blending into the flow of staff passing by. Just another figure in scrubs. Unremarkable. Unnoticed. At the end of the hall, a voice called out softly, "Elena." She stopped, turned slightly. The general's room. The door was partially open. He was awake. Not fully recovered, but aware. She stepped inside. He looked different in the daylight. Less imposing. More human. But his eyes were the same. Clear. Focused. He studied her for a moment, then spoke. "Thank you." No title. No reference. Just the words. Elena held his gaze briefly, then nodded once. "You're stable," she said. Not dismissing. Not accepting. Just stating fact. He understood. He did not push further. There was nothing else to say. She turned. Left the room. The door closed behind her. In the corridor, movement continued. Routine. Unchanged. She returned to the supply cart. Adjusted a stack of linens. Replaced a half-empty box of gloves before it ran out. Checked a patient file that had been misplaced. No one noticed. At the nurse's station, a new intern searched for a chart. "It was right here," he said. Elena placed it beside him without a word. He picked it up mid-sentence. Never looking at her. She moved on. Back to the corridor. Back to the edge. The place where she had always been. The storm was gone. The hospital had returned to normal. And so had she. No recognition. No change in role. No shift in how she was seen. Only the quiet certainty of what had been done. And the choice to leave it there. Unspoken. Unclaimed. As if it had never happened. Except for those who knew. And did not need to say it.